town, small town in Tamil Nadu, but my childhood was in a remote village in Tamil Nadu. Means up to the age of some 10 to 12 years, I was in a village surroundings. Means I studied my up to the third grade in the village school in Tamil medium and all. And after the third grade, I was, means my parents put me in another school which was 3 kilometers away from our village. So at the tender age of, like 8 years or so, 8 to 9 years, I used to walk. Of course, it was along with other children from the village. We used to walk up 3 kilometers and down 3 kilometers to attend school. And here I did my fourth, fifth, sixth grade and all that. So it was really fun, my childhood, in growing up in a village surrounding along the banks of River Kaveri, and paddy fields, mango orchards, and all that cattle and banana plantations. So many natural surroundings. This was I can say my childhood. But talking about my early influencers, I will say my mother. My mother, she herself studied only up to fifth grade, because those days women were not very much encouraged to study, beyond even primary school. She was married off at an early age. But she had lot of value for education. So even at the age, we are three sisters. I am the eldest, and she used to always tell us that you must concentrate on your studies, you must excel in your studies, and then when you grow up, you have to be on your own. Means you must be financially independent. So these were the things which was inculcated in me even at the very young age by my mother. And as such, her general knowledge was amazing, though her education was very little, but she used to study lot of Tamil literature, lot of Tamil magazines, and pass on her general knowledge things to us. And that's how the life was going on. But suddenly, there was a financial crisis in the family. My father fell ill, and then we had a lot of financial problems. And my education was stopped when I entered the seventh grade. Totally for 3 years, I didn't go to school. So it was really a very bad period, but that was beyond my control and all. Just at the age of some 10 to 12 years, and not going to school because of the problems at home. And so this was there for the 3 years, was very bad. I think I must again tell that my mother was a great strength for all of us. She had that strength to face any adversity, and then she used to pep up, and then she never made me sit idle. Not because of she used to teach me songs, or ask me to just learn from the neighbors some stitching and other things. Means just develop some skills and other things. If you are not able to go to school, it's fine. You can improve your knowledge uh, by developing skills, and then learning other talents like music and other things. Like this it went on. But of course there is always light at the end of a dark tunnel. So by this time, my elder brother, he was 11 years elder to us, and he had completed his graduation in Chennai, and he got a job in Mumbai, that Rashtriya Chemicals and Fertilizers. So it was so nice of him, brother. He just passed out his graduation, but so he was such a brilliant boy that he got the job in a government undertaking factory like RCF in Mumbai, and he just brought all of us from village to under his kind of shelter, because RCF provided him the quarters to live, medical facilities. My father was ailing, so he wanted medical attention. And we three sisters, all, my eldest, me being around for 12 to 14 years or so, and other two were younger to me. So he just brought us here. And then, after a gap of 3 years of not going to school, and up to seventh grade, I had studied in Tamil medium in a remote village kind of a thing. Then, suddenly planted in a urban area of Mumbai, and I got admission in a English medium school. But I had to repeat the seventh standard again, because it is change of medium from Tamil to English. But then, here again, my mother's encouragement, my brother's encouragement, and their kind of motivating me to excel in studies. I did well in my studies. Means, after I joined the school, it was a very ordinary school which catered to underprivileged. So all we three sisters got admission in that. Our school fee was waived. So this all helped us, and our concentration was give your best, give excel in your studies, do and get better grades, so that you will come out with good kind of a ranking, and then you will be able to get a job, and then our conditions will improve. That was our kind of motto at that time. So I did well in my studies from 7th up to those days. It was called higher secondary, was called SSLC when I was there. 11th standard. I was among the merit holders in the state, and this got me some scholarship, and also admission in a very good college in Mumbai, SIS college in Sion. So I could join for the degree course and did my degree. So that is the my story in the early life up to the graduation. And why chemistry? My brother's influence, because he was a chemistry graduate, and he used to talk, discuss with me even in my school science lessons, more about chemistry. And then his influence made me take chemistry as the major subject. And not only that, even everybody told, if you want a job after your graduation, chemistry is the better option, and all this was told by people around me. So all this made me take chemistry, and I have a love for this subject as such. So that's the early life story. Yeah. It was difficult. See, some girl who has studied everything in uh, vernacular language like Tamil, suddenly to adopt to city life, and uh, kind of and Hindi, Marathi, and all also were the subjects which I was not very much familiar with. But I think you have to really put in your heart, and you should have that goal, motivation, that no, my goal is I must get educated and be on my own feet. See how long one single person, my brother, how long can he go on supporting a big family of us with mother, father, three sisters, and all those things? I being the eldest among the sisters, my motivation was I must do well in studies. It was difficult, but you can overcome the difficulties by your that inner desire to excel, or to do best, to do your best, so that you have to achieve your goal. So for that you have to put in hard work, and helped by my mother and brother and all, with their motivation, it I was able to do it. Means it was a great thing to get, graduate, get a degree in BA chemistry, at that age, like, though I was, yeah, that is a, yeah, that is also because I was looking for a job. So as soon as I my this thing BSc results were out, every day newspaper look for jobs for chemistry graduates, and all these. Many other things were there, getting in a laboratory, some job offers, but what attracted me was trainee officer advertisement from Baba Atomic Research Center. Baba Atomic Research Center, they have been having this training school program right from the 1950s and all. The batch in which I applied was the 20th batch in 1976. So they wanted, see, that is also kind of a luck. See, you may have bad kind of luck sometimes, but you also have good luck. That was the 20th batch was the last year where they called the applications from both undergraduate, means both BSc and MSc students. But from the next year, 21st onwards, batch onwards, they have switched over to only MScs. So I was very lucky to apply for this trainee officer post after my graduation, and yes, I got selected, and really, I should say I was so happy at that moment. 1 year orientation course was to be undergone before we are appointed as scientific officers in Bhabha Atomic Research Center. So the 1 year training period was very, exhaustive, and with all my batchmates, it was fun, and I topped my chemistry stream at the end of the training period. So it was really a, uh, means very, I should say, the best thing which has happened. So getting into the Baba Atomic Research Center was really a dream for me, and achieving this dream, and I joined the chemistry department, and my journey, career journey, started from 1977 onwards. Yeah, in chemistry division block. Very few, very few. I will tell you about my chemistry batch in uh, this 20th batch. There were 25 trainees, 4 were girls. Okay, so one of them was me. Then in the entire batch, we were chemistry stream. There were trainees for physics, like engineering, biology, many streams. So totally 200 trainee officers were there. Out of the 200 trainee officers, 12 were women. Only we 12 were the lady trainee officers. So that was the situation at that time. Yes. I have heard some of my, boy batchmates telling, why you girls have come to this officer post? This should have been taken by a man who will support his family. I said, I want to support my family. That's why I have come here. Is it not? Because I had to kind of lessen the burden of my brother. That was my motto. So why a lady cannot support the family? Only man has to support the family. So this way we used to argue. Not only me, my other means lady officers who were with me. We were 12 of them. Yes, and to against the nearly 200 boys trainees. Yeah, that was the situation. That is, see, I have joined after my BSc. So The first thing is, anyway, my work was research oriented, and I joined, my Dr. M.S. Chandrasekharaya, who was a very eminent thermodynamist at that time, so under his guidance, I was working, and I learned how to do experimentation in high temperature chemistry and did some research in high temperature chemistry of materials, and that earned me a MSc degree. So when after my MSc degree, see, my work, always research work in BRC, was always motivated by finding a solution to some problem faced in the nuclear industry or something like that. See, in 1986, I don't know whether you all remember, you all might have been very young at the time. There was a Chernobyl accident in Russia. I don't know if any of you know about it. One of the nuclear reactors in Russia, there was an accident and the ceiling was blown off because of that. See, once a nuclear reactor ceiling blows off, all the radioactivity in the nuclear reactor gets carried away into the air, and it gets into the aerosol, and it is spreading everywhere. So my next was, after completing MSc, I wanted to do something to some problem for my PhD. This was the problem I took up for my PhD, to calculate in a nuclear reactor, because in a nuclear reactor, when the fission takes place, half the periodic table is out there. There are many elements, some of them very volatile, and when they reach high temperatures, they just vaporize and get into the air. And what is the kind of vapors, what are the interactions among them, and how they are carried. So these were the things I did, mostly this work in a computational manner. I used some software even at that time, some program. Those days it was not called software. It was some, programs in form of, pack of cards. You have to run it in a computer and get the results. So my PhD problem was on this. So this is something which, and this earned me a PhD degree in 1991. And then further, all my work was related to, you can say, green energy, or means nuclear energy, one part, and then later on I shifted to hydrogen energy and catalysis and all those things, which are all, I can say now, if you talk of these sustainability goals, 70 out of the 17 sustainability goals, the goal number 7 is clean energy and affordable energy. So I can say my work, most of my projects were related to that. See, like thorium, India has a large resource of thorium. So all over the world, uranium is used in nuclear reactors, power reactors. Okay, but whereas the other countries may not have such rich thorium resource, but India has. So we worked on how to use thorium nuclear fuel for getting a power out of the nuclear fuel. So that was one of my project. Then, use the nuclear heat, high temperature heat, on a thermochemical cycle to produce green hydrogen. See, now even our ministers talk of green hydrogen and hydrogen run buses and trains and all those things. Hydrogen is to be generated, but it is to be generated in a sustainable and green method. One of the method is the thermochemical cycle. I worked on that and developed some catalysts for that. And then, this along with the collaboration with other colleagues in BRC, engineers and all, we could, kind of demonstrate a complete loop of this thermochemical cycle, and demonstrate that hydrogen indeed can be generated by splitting water. Just H2O, water can be split and hydrogen can be generated by using this high temperature thermochemical cycle. At that time, India was the 5th country in the world to demonstrate this cycle, thermochemical cycle. So this has given me immense satisfaction. Just one more I wanted to tell you, same way, that you must remember the Fukushima accident in Japan. I don't know, because of tsunami, one of the nuclear reactors in Japan was affected, and there was, you could see in the TV some explosion. Many people thought it is a nuclear explosion. It is not a nuclear explosion. It was a hydrogen explosion. Hydrogen explosion can occur in nuclear reactor because hydrogen gets accumulated due to certain reactions and all within the reactor. So what we had been working also earlier on developing some catalyst to mitigate the hydrogen there and then in the nuclear reactor. Just as soon as hydrogen is formed, use a catalyst and convert it to water. So that way the hydrogen concentration will go down and you can avoid the explosion. So we worked on this catalysis. We didn't stop at just the laboratory stage of showing that yes, we have developed a catalyst which can mitigate hydrogen. We developed a device and transferred this technology to ECIL, ECIL Electronic Corporation of India. They made it, they scaled it up, and now I am very proud to say that all over India, in all nuclear means power plants, in all nuclear power plants, this device is kind of installed, because about more than 1,000 devices have to be made. That I cannot do it in my laboratory because mine is a small laboratory. I had transferred the technology, means I and my colleagues, we transferred the technology to ECIL. They made it into a large scale and supplied to all the power stations. Now all the power stations in India are having this safety device. So it's something which I gives me immense satisfaction. Uh-huh. Yes, this is after my retirement. I wanted to give back to the society whatever my knowledge was. So I just joined this non-profit organization. The main mandate is to spread scientific awareness and women empowerment. So this way, in you have seen we have several green initiatives like the solar energy. We have a learning garden to for teaching purpose and maintaining the biodiversity, and several other means we have a biogas, and also we educate people that they must convert the kitchen waste to manure and not send it to the landfill and all those things, that kind of scientific awareness we are spreading across the society by seminars, by kind of various programs, workshops and all, and also educative programs. I had carried out a refresher course for chemistry teachers with the help of the fundings from National Academy of Sciences. And then recently we have completed 50 years of our existence, IFSA. So we had a triennial conference, Women in Science and Technology, and I was the co-convener of the conference. And in the conference, there were national and international women, all the speakers, invited speakers were women. They gave very motivating talk about their journey and their innovations in various fields. And for 3 days, we had a wonderful conference with, and also involved the students. When the students listen to these great scientists, women scientists, they get motivated. And more girls will try to join the science stream and try to do research work. This is the kind of work we are trying to do in IFSA right now. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this, I am trying to do this by, kind of organizing popular science lectures in colleges and motivating the young girls. Means many eminent women scientists I get hold of them and make them speak and give their experiences, and trying to give them, that you can excel in this field, and it gives you immense satisfaction when you are able to use science, and in everyday life you can improve the society's living and conditions, and solve many of the problems which the human race is, be it climate change or pollution or whatever it is. So you can use science to solve many of the problems around you, and this is what we have to motivate the young girls. And we also take mentorship programs and involve them in some projects, and when they do it on their own with their own hands, they get even more motivated. Means when they see the results, and then it is really kind of giving them that yes, we are able to do this. And then not only that, they have to present before a panel and defend what they are doing, so this gives them a lot of confidence. And then of course, as a woman, you will have several other problems, family, but you have to face it and overcome it, and at the when you kind of you are able to contribute something to the society, that satisfaction what you get, that is more you know for that is what you should look for, and then try to do. Of course, you can also earn, and nowadays we are trying to motivate the young girls that you can have your own startup. I am seeing many young girls are trying to do have their own business, and you earn a handsome amount, at the same time do something for the society, both. Yes, that's what I look at it, and we are trying to do this. Yeah, at 13 or 16, do well in your studies, get your degree, and then try do a job. But once I joined the job, then what I told myself was, I have seen how difficult it is to cope up with all these financial difficulties, or even as a girl child, your education is not given much importance, so then you think of doing something for the society. That is what I would have told my this thing. See, anyway, this what I as a school girl I read Marie Curie's biography. That was really very inspiring for me. That against all odds, how many difficulties she faced, and yet she went on to do excellent research in chemistry and physics. Means she was only person to get Nobel Prize in both chemistry and physics, and that it was. Yeah. So these are all very. Yeah, yeah. See, because Marie Curie is a very, means a very well-known example. But now in our, see, I am also editor of this IFSA newsletter, of which we bring thrice a year. There, we highlight achievements of the women scientists. Not only now, see, there were, many Indian women scientists who did not get the recognition they should have got at that time, though they were brilliant scientists at that time. So we are trying to dig out those stories, and this kind of series. If you see our newsletter, we have a women achievers, which are the current achievers also. See, like you can see how many women have now broken the glass ceilings. Now, see this Kalai Selvi. She is the first women director general of CSIR so far. And like that, there are so many. See, but I was disappointed. This year's Bhatnagar awardee list, no women is appearing. So there are these. That's sad. But see, I can even now compare. When I retired from BARC in 2015, hardly there were any division heads in BARC, leave aside group directors or something. But now, in the past 8 years, I am finding more and more women are given the division head post. At least two women directors are there, you know. Archana Sharma, she has appeared in your She's book. She is one of the group directors in Baba Atomic Research Center in the beam technology, and another chemical engineering group, another the lady is the group director. So I am very happy that more women are means coming to the leadership positions in many kind of. See, you can see during COVID how many, like Priya Abraham and many other women, they contributed a lot to the vaccination program and health means kind of managing the health of so many people and all. So women are contributing, but they have to get the due recognition and they have to move up. Yes. Yeah, okay. See, since my early education was in Tamil, I have great love for Tamil. And in Tamil, you know, the great saint Thiruvalluvar, he has written 1330 couplets, small, two line, couplets in Tamil. They are very famous. And the whole management principles you can find in that. The one couplet which I want, which kind of is my mantra is, I will just recite that if you don't mind. Idumbaikki idumbai paduvar, idumbaikki idumbai padadavar. So, what is the meaning conveyed by this is, when you face difficulties, don't be, deterred or don't be disheartened by the difficulties. Face the difficulty head on. Once you face it, with courage, with the whole difficulty will run away from you. Idumbaikki idumbai padadu. So the person who can face the difficulties with determination, with courage, that no, I will not be bowed down by these difficulties, then you can overcome the difficulties and you can achieve. That is the mantra which Thiruvalluvar has given me, and I would like to quote that. Yes.